Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, the Executive Director of the American Constitutional Rights Union and the ACRU Action Fund. Welcome to another episode of Live Free TV. You know, I've said this before, I'll say it again. It's only been 30 days, folks. And the left, well, they're losing their mind. See, the problem with the left is that they worship the false god of big government. And Washington, D.C., those are all of the temples of their false god of big government. And what they see happening right now is a dismantling. And really it's a reshaping, a right sizing. It's an alignment of Washington, D.C. against the constitutional enumerated powers that have been given to the federal government. They don't like that. They really believe in that centralized control, that centralized government. And to hear some of the wailings that are going on about individuals that are being, well, fired or people that are buying out, you know, I found it quite interesting when people are saying that, you know, federal government employees should not accept Trump's buyout because the money might not be there. These are members of the House and Senate. You're the ones that appropriated the money in this budget cycle for them to be paid. And that's what's happening. They will continue to get paid in this year, in this budget cycle, which runs till the 30th of September, and then they won't get paid anymore. And guess what? They don't have to show up to work, which, oh, by the way, you've told them they don't have to show up to work anyhow. As Joe Biden was going out the door, he cut a deal with the government employees union that's saying that employees could stay home for another 5 years. How can that be? And first and foremost, I think I kind of got an issue with people collectively bargaining with the American taxpayer dollar. I understand unions in the private sector, but how do you have federal government employee unions? Because the money that they're paid with comes from us, the taxpayers. So I think that any contracts, negotiation, things of that nature, it should be debated upon in the House and the Senate, who are our duly elected representatives, for us to be able to say, no, I don't think so. Because I don't think any person here, an American taxpayer, would say, yes, let's allow federal government workers to stay home for 5 years. And so all of these people think that we're supposed to be upset. We're supposed to be sad for these federal government employees. As a matter of fact, 60 Minutes just recently ran a little segment with two individuals who were fired from the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. First and foremost, USAID was established by executive order in 1961 by President John F. Kennedy. It was ended by executive order by President Donald J. Trump in January of this year. You create something by executive order, another president can come along and make it go away by executive order. But CBS 60 Minutes had two quote unquote employees from USAID, and they were just, well, you have to feel sorry for us because we don't know where our paycheck will come from. We, you know, all of these people all of a sudden waking up and they don't know what to do. I don't recall anyone caring about federal government employees who were fired because they wouldn't take a COVID shot. I don't know about anyone caring about people who lost their businesses because they were shut down during COVID. And this year is the 5th anniversary of COVID. As a matter of fact, how about I remind you of how it was under the previous administration when it comes to federal government employees that, well, didn't do what they were told to do.
With COVID cases surging and deaths now 5 times higher than just a month ago, President Biden is requiring tens of millions more Americans to get vaccinated.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us. This is not about freedom or personal choice.
The president is ordering nearly all federal workers and employees of contractors that do business with the federal government get vaccinated within 75 days, eliminating their option to be tested instead of getting shots. Employees who refuse could be punished, even fired.
If you want to work with the federal government and do business with us, get vaccinated.
President Biden's now pressuring private companies too, directing the Labor Department to require businesses with 100 or more employees ensure their workers are fully vaccinated or provide a negative test each week. A move the White House estimates will impact 80 million Americans. Companies that do not comply could face fines. The White House anticipating lawsuits.
We're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated coworkers.
And the TSA is doubling fines for airline passengers who refuse to mask up.
If you break the rules, be prepared to pay.
If you break the rules of the left, be prepared to pay. But if you violate the Constitution, we don't care. And oh, by the way, those two USAID quote unquote employees that 60 Minutes was talking to, they're not employees. They're communications contractors. One of them was a speechwriter for the former USAID director, Samantha Power. Now, we're supposed to feel sorry for those government employees, but all of these individuals, because as Joe Biden said, it's not about your freedom. It's not about your individual rights. Everything in America is about the individual's freedom, their rights, and their liberties. But see, the point is that when it is the ideological agenda of the left, all else has to be subservient. All else has to be subjugated. Now, I want you to remember that clip that we just showed you of Joe Biden and think about what we did come to learn and find out about the COVID shot. Think about the 8,000 members of the military who were put out because they didn't want to take that shot. It was unconstitutional. It was an illegal, unlawful, immoral order that was given by the commander-in-chief at the time, Joe Biden. And yet, no one was crying for them. No one was going out and protesting for them. No one was talking about how unfair that is. But yet here comes Donald Trump, Orange Man Bad, who is revealing fraud, waste, and abuse in the federal government, releasing government employees, really looking and saying, okay, who is necessary? Who is essential? I mean, the federal government and government overall during the COVID crisis told us who was essential. Your business, you can stay. Your business, you got to go. Who cares? If you don't comply, you pay us a fine, which means a tax, which means it goes to them. So we're going to punish you for not kneeling down to the false god of big government. That's what we went through. And everyone's out there, ranting and raving about Elon Musk and what he is doing, what he is revealing. We just saw J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States of America, speaking to European leaders about this whole thing of shutting down free speech, freedom of expression, censorship. And guess what? Margaret Brennan of CBS had the audacity to ask or even make the statement to Secretary of State Marco Rubio that free speech enabled the Nazis to commit genocide. This is how delusional the left is. But just a reminder about what they did to infringe upon your freedom of speech and your freedom of expression, because remember, it's not about your freedom. It's not about your rights, as Joe Biden said. Listen to the revelations that came from Mark Zuckerberg once he kind of began to realize that the ship was taking a different course.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg has publicly slammed the Biden administration and says he regrets working with them to censor content on his platforms. In a letter dated August 26, Zuckerberg made significant promises to Congress ahead of the 2024 election. He revealed that in 2021, the Biden administration repeatedly pressured Meta to censor COVID-19 content on Facebook. Senior officials from the Biden administration repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content. Zuckerberg stated that he regretted not being more vocal about this pressure. He admitted to making misinformed content moderation choices as a result. I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction, and we're ready to push back if something like this happens again, said Zuckerberg. In the letter addressed to House Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan, the billionaire said the FBI pressured Meta to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story, suggesting it was Russian disinformation. As a result, Meta demoted the story, exposing Biden family corruption allegations on all its platforms ahead of the 2020 election. Zuckerberg now says the story was not disinformation and should not have been demoted.
Simple question. Is that what you want to go back to? Those people that are out there protesting in just a month. Do you want to go back to suppressing speech, suppressing expression? Do you want to go back to having some arbitrary person telling you that if you don't do this thing, you will lose your life, you will lose your livelihood? I mean, it is quite over the top and quite deranged when I hear these progressive socialist leftist elected officials saying that because of what Donald Trump is doing in just 30 days, by going in and finding fraud, waste, and abuse in these government departments and agencies, Americans are going to die. Americans were dying because of an open border. Americans were dying because we were forcing them to do something to their bodies, which really was against all biology. And no one knows their body better than the person who lives in that body. It had to be complete subservience to this ideology, or you will be punished. Do we really want to go back to that? Because I think in November of 2024, the American people said they didn't. But yet you have the party of no solutions whatsoever, still going out there, taking to the streets, doing what they always do, going around shopping for the right type of court or the right type of judge to try to bring some type of, lawfare obstruction. Mayors and governors and police chiefs saying that they're not going to cooperate. They're not going to enforce the law, but yet they're called law enforcement officers. Do we really want to go back to that? I don't think we do. Here at the American Constitutional Rights Union, what we seek to do is to educate, inform, and empower and activate you so that you can make these right electoral decisions going forward. And not just at this federal government level, you have to be able to make the right type of decisions at your local level as well. Here where I live in Dallas County, the largest city in Dallas County is the city of Dallas. The interim police chief has just come out and said that they're not going to work with ICE in deporting criminal illegal immigrants. A law enforcement officer saying that he is not going to enforce the law. And you know that you have that in other places. It's so important that you understand these issues so that you can make the right decisions for your city councils, for your county commissions. Here we have a county district attorney that says that he's not going to prosecute a case that's less than, $750. $750 is a lot to me. I don't care who you are. And if you violate my property, you violated my constitutional rights. You have violated my natural right of life, liberty, and property. And I expect you to be held accountable. But do we really want to go back to a time when you only get punished because you don't obey? No, I did not take a COVID shot. And even after contracting COVID and being hospitalized, and I was told that I would get, a different type of treatment, remdesivir, I told the doctor, no. And if you continue to try to give me remdesivir, I'll walk out of here. And I asked for budesonide nebulizer treatment. And guess what? In 70 some odd hours, I was back out. And I was back to, my run routine. Took me a while to get back up to my normal 4 to 5 miles. But the thing was that I made that choice. Joe Biden said that I don't have that choice to make. That wasn't Joe Biden. That's the leftist mentality that we allowed to run this country for 4 years. Constitutional conservatives, people that love freedom, We don't want that. And the true understanding of this nation is that the government exists based upon the consent of the governed. That's in the Declaration of Independence. The United States of America is unique in that the relationship between the individual and the government is that the individual is sovereign over the government, not the other way around. We're sovereign because our rights come from a sovereign God. That's what natural rights theory is about. That's why Thomas Jefferson codified that in the Declaration of Independence. And if you fail to understand this, if you fail to hold on to this glimpse of hope that we were able to achieve in November of 2024, then we'll go right back to what you just saw. I don't think you want that for yourself. I pray you don't want that for your children and for your grandchildren. But in 30 days, we have just seen the people that want us to go back, that they are going to do everything that they possibly can to get us back on that path, because it's all about power and control. And the ACRU does not believe that it's about government power and control. It's about the individual. And as Thomas Paine once said, the duty of a true patriot is to protect his country from its government. What are you doing to protect your country from its government? Join us next time for another episode of Live Free TV. God bless.